which are like the quietest class ever. So I'm like, I don't really need, yeah, I'm like, whip them into shape. So it's pretty funny that I was like, I don't really need to do much with discipline. So you guys are awesome. So so it'll be good for them to come watch you guys and just kind of learn from hopefully my teaching and then from you guys too. We'll go through the questions you guys had, and then put our new notes for our activity today. We're going to conclude practicing our triangles, our different properties that work and don't work. And then we have a few more new notes this chapter, but then we'll be getting ready for, like I said, we'll have one more test before exams, which are next week, Thursday or Friday. I think Thursday for this class. All right, so number 16 says, can you determine if ABC equals DEF? Explain your reasoning. So 16 and 17 both have like the same directions. So we want to know ABC, DEF, 16. So there's no drawing. So anytime there's not a drawing and I can't visualize what's going on, I do a drawing. So they want to know if ABC equals DEF. And so I'm gonna draw what that should look like. So and it doesn't have to be anything special. A, B, C. Now when I name this, I want to name it so that it like corresponds. So A and D should be in the same spot. Okay. So they tell me B equals E, C equals F. So I have two angles. And then AC equals DE. So AC, this, equals DE. So like that looks like angle, side. Did you see what's going on there? What's the issue? So AC in the name here should go with what side? See that? It should go with DF. So if we want it to be angle, side, it's got to be the same angle, side. Otherwise, the name doesn't make sense with this, and like it doesn't really correspond. So we don't know that AC equals DF. So this one is no, because the corresponding parts don't match up. So it's definitely a tough question there. So drawing it and then looking at the name, AC should go with DF. They're not telling us anything about AC and DF. They told us about AC and another side. And so it's not the same angle, side in both drawings. All right, same idea on this one. We're gonna draw, I'm gonna mark things up here. So AB equals EF. I think we're already, oh no, AB equals, yeah, that's already wrong, right? AB shouldn't go with EF, but we have that. And then BC, DF, we have this with this, but again, that doesn't match up. Then AC with DE. So I don't think it's the same side. Should be no, I think. Again, because again, they don't correspond. So Again, AC should go with DF based off the name, so the same sides don't match up, so they are not congruent. It's another kind of tricky one. Number 19. So this is the one that I think we thought was debatable in my one class, but or like I think the answer key in the book was different than what I had. So in 19, they want to know triangle TUV is equal to TV or WV. WV. So they want TUV, so this triangle, being congruent to this one. And I see a shared side there. So I see this side is shared. So it looks like side, side. But like the book's answer key, I think says side angle, side. But we don't have any angles. They don't tell us anything about any of the angles. And like these lines over here don't really help us. If they were asking for TXW, those would be congruent to the top one. But that's not what they're talking about. So this doesn't really help us at all. So I'm trying to see any reason why it would. So there's not enough information. We only have side, side. And then finally, in number 20, it's kind of a tough one to draw. So let's see here. We want QML equal to P or LPN. So they want QML. QML is this one. They want to equal to be LPN, which is this one. And it looks like we have a leg on a right triangle. But I don't see like a shared hypotenuse at all. So I think this is another no, I think, right? Is that what the answer was? I don't see the other side that's like shared. There's shared things going on here, but we don't have enough information to have a second side. So we have an angle and a side, but that's not enough to figure out that other side or another angle. Let's see. That is also no. All right. So I'll get you guys your notes for today. I'll tell you guys our notes for today are going to be, or the homework's going to be really short. And you're like, oh my gosh, she only gives 4 questions. That's because the homework takes a little bit longer. It's probably a little bit more thinking. It's kind of a little bit tougher, I guess I would say. So I want to allow you guys some time to kind of get started in class on it. Like I said, we have a Kahoot as like an activity, but the homework is short because the problems are a little bit longer. So just kind of knowing that going into it. And you'll notice in our warm-up, we only have, or our notes, we only have like 4 questions in our notes that we're going to do. And this really goes with what we've already been doing. So this is technically still section 4.5. These are proofs we're working on here today. So jump right into it, no warm up here. So in the spot where the warm-up is, though, I do want to remind us of the things we've been using. So we're going to need to use the reasons we've learned so far in order to do these proofs. So one of the big things we're going to be using today is all those different triangle properties. So like side, 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 side angle, side, angle, side, angle, 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 side, and then hypotenuse leg. So what we're doing today is proving triangles are congruent by using one of these reasons. So just like we solved the equations a few chapters ago, and we got to explain each of our steps, we're going to have to do the same thing with triangles. So if I have side, 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 I have to show that all the sides are equal in my proof. So I'm going to have to show that all three sides are equal. Again, reminder that some of the ways we can figure some of this out, we've written this down a few times already. Remember that we might have a step that includes vertical angles. Or a step that talks about a shared side. Now, a shared side is the reflexive property when something equals itself. We're also going to watch out for alternate interior angles. I think that's it. Think of any other ones that we might need. Now, some of the information can be given to us, and so just being aware that if something's given, we can just list that in the given statement. So we're going to do 4 proofs today in our notes and our homework. So the notes are 4 proofs. I'll do 4 proofs with you guys. Sorry, and then homework, same idea. I'm going to let you guys go and try the 4 proofs. Now, I will tell you guys, sometimes it's just a matter of trying some things and then like not giving up and like kind of coming back to it or trying to think about it another way. So sometimes these are going to be tough. So I mean, but at the same time, kind of once you get in the habit of it and kind of figure out what you need to do, I don't think they're impossible. So this is kind of the way our proof is going to look. They're going to give us a given statement, a drawing, and then they're going to tell us what they want us to prove. So we want to prove that these triangles are congruent. And they're giving us some information in this drawing. So we're going to set this up as a 2-column proof. So if you guys recall, it's been a few chapters since we've done this. We have a statement over here. And then the reasons are over here. Hopefully you guys remember this from when we did this with algebra. And we always start with what they gave us. So they're giving us some information. They're telling us these things. And so I'm going to write those in my given statement, or as my first step. Now these should have little segments over the top, or they don't have to. It just sometimes when I'm typing it, it's hard to get it in there. So, oops, that's not step 2, it's step 1. I can count. Square. So if you don't know how to get started on any problem, step 1 should be a piece of cake for you. All you're doing is copying down what's given to you. So if this is a 4-step proof, it's probably worth 8 points. A point for the step and then the reason. You've gotten 2 out of like 8 points already. So at least you got something here. So what they gave me, I'm going to label on the drawing. So H equals K, so they just gave me that information. I don't need to have a reason why, they just gave it to me. And then they tell me HL equals LK. That was just given to me as well. So I marked those up. Now, we kind of did this a little bit yesterday. We kind of had like a plan in our head of what we wanted to do. And I said, what else do we need? So, or I said, what else can we assume in this drawing? Now we're just gonna write that in a proof. So, what else do you guys know about this drawing? Yep. We know vertical angles. So I know that these two angles are vertical. So I'm gonna say that. Now, this one's a little bit annoying because L can't equal L because of there needs to be more letters. So a lot of times in a proof on a test, I'll label all the angles with numbers, but I didn't here. So H, L, G, that angle here, equals the other one. So J, L, K. And just like Luke said, it's just vertical angles. Now, technically, it's probably called like the vertical angles theorem or something. I mean, I don't even know off the top of my head because I don't ever make my students say the reason. I don't need you guys to like word for word like write it as a theorem or a postulate or whatever. So it's fine. Vertical angles, we know those are equal. Have I shown enough reasons that these two triangles are congruent? Do I have enough information? Yeah, we have what reason? How do I know these two triangles are going to be equal? Yeah.
Vertical angles.
That's how we knew the angles were equal. How do I know the triangles are equal though now? Yeah.
ASA.
Yeah, it's an angle side angle rule that we have now. We've shown two angles on the side in our proof. So this is only a 3-step proof that by angle side angle, these two triangles should be equal. So this is a pretty straightforward proof, but we're just kind of getting our feet wet. Some of them are a little bit tougher, but they're probably not going to be ever much more than like 4 steps. I mean, that's probably pretty much the standard. Oops. Yeah, JKL. So I just recopied what I was trying to prove down here by ASA, like Dawson just said. So that was our reason those are congruent. So I showed that I had 2 angles and a side. And it happens to be angle, side, angle, because it's the included side between those 2 angles. Is that okay? So I probably built this up. It's totally scary. But for whatever reason, some people just don't think as logically like this. So that's why we're going to do a few different practice problems. And I'm going to tell you guys, there's probably going to be a problem really similar to some of these on the test. So when you're like, I feel like we've done this one before. We might have. I mean, there's only so many proofs to go around that I can kind of come up with that are doable for us. So just a heads up on that. If we practice them together, hopefully it's something you have seen when you guys get to a test, if we practice enough of them. All right, so let's go to example 2 here. I will warn you, this one's a little bit tougher, just because I think it's like the one tougher idea to remember to use. So again, don't know where to start. Start with the given statement. You always have to do that anyway, so I'm going to write that down. Again, they don't need any reason for the given statement. It's just given to us. That's just the little parallel lines. So BC equals AD, or DA, whatever. And then it's also parallel. So far all I have is basically one side that I know. All right, so far all we have is a side. So obviously I need more. Any thoughts? Anything else you guys know on this drawing? Yeah, Will?
That they share the same line.
Yeah, remember those shared sides are always a great one to grab. So AC equals itself, right? So this side is a shared side. So AC equals AC. Now, we don't just call it shared side, we call that reflexive. So if you think back a couple of chapters, that was always kind of a weird step in a proof, like why would we ever say that? We want to make sure we mention that. So this is reflexive, it equals itself. And I'll just write that just in case you forgot. So basically the math reason for shared side is reflexive. So far I have two sides. Bless you. Two sides isn't enough though. Yeah, so kind of at this point we have to decide what we haven't used yet. We haven't used the fact that we have parallel lines. Parallel lines should put a little like connection in your head. Every time you see parallel lines, you should think there might be alternate interior angles there. So, like Luke just said, we have this little Z shape here. And there's alternate interior angles there. So anytime you see that Z shape with parallel lines, we have those alternate interior angles. So we have to figure out what those angles are. So that's BCA and then CAD. Okay, so we have alternate interior angles. Now, if you look at our proof, we have a side, and an angle, but we have to look at our drawing to figure out which type of reason we're using in this case. So obviously angles, angle side doesn't work, but if we look at our drawing, what kind of like triangle is this? What do we call this? It's the three letters we're using on this one. Side angle, the angles between the two sides. So that's going to be our reasoning. That's considered our proof there. So we've proved the triangles are congruent. So not so bad, as long as you're willing to kind of think about what we know and just kind of, you're giving that a step. I think we're gonna pause for, play a little Kahoot here with, it's all about the different types of rules. So the triangle rules, so like the side angle side, like those different ones. That's all that's for you to figure out. And the better we get at noticing those, the easier these problems become. Okay, just keep an eye on that. I'll turn the lights down just so you can see the drawings as well. Don't fall asleep on me. You get dark. It's too dark. I guess you guys don't have to write with these. Sorry, just know if you're working on something.
How good?
Okay. Yeah.
No, that's not good.
Yeah.
That's fun.
Oh my God. Yeah. Yeah.
No, Liz? No, you don't.
Alright, I think it's kind of a long one, but because of, this spooky cuckoo music, but these hopefully will go kind of fast.
She's the one that called you in. It was a baby. No, I didn't say it. I didn't know what you said. Yeah, no, it's no.
Like I said, they should go pretty fast,
Oh, shoot.
only like 10 seconds
Oh,
left.
yeah. I thought girls were always right.
I have a mistake, my mom left this.
Okay.
There's a lot of questions, so there's a chance that,
Oh, wait, what?
What?
I gotta be next. I know, but like, you have to like flip it, like.
yeah, it can rotate, yeah. There's no like letters, so they don't have to worry about, yeah, it can rotate. Yeah, if there were letters and it like, they didn't match up, that'd be different, but the fact that you can kind of rotate that. And there's a lot of questions in this Kahoot, so I think it's like 27. So if you got one wrong, don't give up, because somebody else can make a silly mistake at some point.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, the faster we get at these, the better these proofs go. I mean, kind of
What are you
noticing.
laughing at?
Oh, look
They
at
don't
you
mind
guys.
if I get the questions right.
This might be too easy for you guys, huh?
Right?
Nothing? I don't remember if there gets harder questions. All right, so yeah, so the angle is that shared angle, the vertical angle there. Sorry, I should call it a shared angle. All right, careful on this one. So, shared side here in the middle. Angle, side is okay. Angle, side is okay. It's angle, side we don't want. Angle, side is fine. The two angles and then the non-included side. That works. Lots of lead changes here.
Oh, shit. It's a shared side.
Yep, so the middle is a shared side. That side equals itself. All right, so this one, they only have two sides labeled. They don't have any other angles, any other sides. Let's see if, oh, sorry, those of you guys online, I'm realizing this is really hard to see, so probably can't see it. All right, so again, in this case, the two angles, but the side is not the included side. So it's angle, side. It'd have to be the side between them to be angle, side, angle. And they wouldn't even have to have that right angle. I don't know if that's just trying to throw you off, but that means these are both right angles, but it doesn't really matter. They're always gonna be equal because it's vertical. Some fire up there. Pressure's on. All right, yeah, so not enough information because they only gave us one side. Yeah, we know the angles, but we need two sides.
Yes, it is. What? It's in.
Thanks so much. So it's the shared side. So angle, side, angle. I know like it's weird that they're on the same side as one another. That's okay. They can kind of flip over and mirror. Even if it doesn't look like it, if it's marked, we assume it is. This one fool you? No, not many of you guys. Okay, so this is one. We have the angles. So obviously vertical angles work, but if you look, this one's side angle side, and this one's angle side side. They have different sides marked. So that's a tricky one. So this is not congruent. Good news is those won't show up in the proof. Like the proof is gonna always work. And not drag out there of the top 5. Always a chance to come back and still a lot of questions. Like we just saw something like this. Good work. I thought some of the questions changed later on, maybe not, sorry. Too easy. Side, 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 because we have the shared side in the middle. Again, it's okay for it to be flipped. All right, this is a tough one. Because of the fact that you see it's a right triangle, so you're like, oh, this has got to be a hypotenuse leg. So hypotenuse leg, we need the hypotenuse and a leg. We have a leg, but we don't know for sure about the hypotenuse at this point. They don't have those marked for us. So all we have is a leg in this case. So a leg is not enough, and angle side doesn't work. Didn't fool Luke, apparently. Big lead change there. The top 5. Oh wait.
What?
Ooh. So vertical angles,
Oh,
angle side angle.
that.
I think you still have wiggle room, don't you?
Oh, really? That's
That's just law. So again, not congruent because we don't have that second side. We only have the one side. We have vertical angles. Hi. Oh. I think it's Luke. It's not like he's giving birth. He got his first question wrong.
Yeah, but I still.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Miss Woolers understands loud. though.
Exactly.
It's like she, it's like it hits her right in the soul.
Hi, Mrs. Woolers.
She said he's being too loud. I'm like, you understand loud. Like,
That's me.
You get any of you guys to slip up here.
Oh,
All right, guys, this one is angle side side. That's one of our ones that doesn't work. Angle side side. We don't want angle side side. It is a shared side, but remember that spells out ESS.
the best word ever.
My one class used to always say we don't do donkey, like the donkey from Shrek. Like
Okay.
figure out a way to watch out for that one.
Okay. Oh, goodness. Fireplace.
I don't know, I think I got
No, you go. All right, so this one, you guys, we have vertical angles. So it's angle side. It's okay to have angle side. It's not the included side.
We're not catching.
Oh, my
It's so close, like it's less than 100 points between you guys. Then if you're fast, then you can make a mistake.
Until you pass the group, it's
Right.
faster than you.
Yeah, watch.
Oh, that's, oh, wait,
That,
I got,
yeah, it's more than 100 now. Okay.
I just got
Really?
I knew what it was, but I.
You got it right. You got it right. So, it's the shared side,
Oh.
so angle side angle.
I said it wrong in my head.
Oh, no, don't. I got it wrong.
I think I got it. Yes, you got it. You got
All right, guys, this is a tough one. This one looks like angle side side, right? Angle side side. But since it's a right triangle, we have the leg and the hypotenuse is given to us. It's a shared side. So this one's hypotenuse leg. You guys see that? So since it's a right triangle, always remember to look for that hypotenuse leg. Yeah, it looks pretty solid here. Now you can still get one wrong and still be safe.
Did you get one?
No, that's funny.
That's what you have to count.
No, I got it. I don't want to, I think I like the same kind of. Like the same word.
So this one, you guys, it's not the included side, it's two angles and the side on the other side. It's okay that it's a right angle. Ooh, look at that.
You're still
Look
like.
at that.
I'll do one. Okay. All these, you're gonna get wrong. All these,
looking at this.
No, I did screw it.
I got this.
All right, angle doesn't work.
I have to do some-
Yeah, as long as you don't, even, I think you can still get it wrong and still win.
And I just got that right.
Okay, me too.
Yes.
Oh, do you need peas?
No, I just got that.
This was
So remember, side angle is the same thing as ASS, but we can't write that one. So, anytime it's a right triangle, hypotenuse leg, all right, top 5 can come up, so Drake and Jacob as well. And I have a little bit more variety of stuff here. I didn't think about it, first of all, don't eat it. So, they're like, there's random like pop cards, stuff, chips.
But it's, I mean, first and fourth, second and last, I have to get it.
They are there, like, so the things my husband doesn't want our children to eat.
It's a gato.
Second place.
It's an asterisk.
Second is the
You know,
best.
these are not you.
Second is the best.
It's a gato.
First is the worst, second is the
That's
best.
our thing.
I'm not almost there, you are.
Dang. Why do I have to-
You do some hard.
All right. So we're gonna finish up with the 2 proofs on the back, and then I'm gonna give you guys the rest of the time to get working, just because sometimes these proofs we kind of get stuck on. Some of these treats, like these are actually some of the things, when we had the free lunches during COVID, my kids would get lunches from the school or whatever, and some of these things are just from there. So if something doesn't seem too crunchy or something, you can always turn it back in. Sorry, I don't know. I think they're all okay, but if any of the treats don't seem like fresh, you can always switch them out. But that's like the bag of stuff Mr. Donahue hid for my children. He's strict about food. We give them treats, but not always. So in this drawing, this one's a little bit tougher. So we'll talk about kind of what the given statement's saying, but again, we're gonna set up our statement and reasons. This requires us to go back and think about what we know about the word bisects. So get that written down and then we'll talk about words here. I'm all behind. Once I move the desk over next door, I'll figure it out. All right, so CB bisects those angles. What does it mean for a line to bisect an angle? What does it do to those angles? Yeah, Drake? Cuts them in half. So it makes like 2 little smaller equal angles. So CB bisects ABD. So this CB cuts this angle into 2 equal little pieces. Does that make sense? But then it also does it the other way as well. So these are 2 equal little pieces. Now, since it does that though, I have to say that in the proof. I can't just say, well, I just drew that, so it's good. So we actually have to write what we know now based off of that. So that's our next step. Now, just so you guys know, the steps you do in order doesn't really matter. If you're like, hey, I noticed the shared side right away, that's fine. It doesn't matter really the order, as long as the last step is that you proved them. So we want to say that these 2 angles are the same up here. Now, they're not all equal, so I can't set them all equal, but these 2 angles are equal. So ABC our angle ABC equals this one, DBC. And since it's the same reason, I'm gonna write it in the same step. I'm gonna also do this side too, ACB. And then DCB. So again, what we just did there is we marked that up because the angle was bisected. So if you're asking what the reason is, that's all it is an angle bisector. Now, if you look in your book, they probably say definition of an angle bisector. I don't need you to say definition, theorem, whatever. Just how do we know that? Because it's an angle bisector. So I have two angles now. What else do I know? That shared side. So that middle side is shared. That CB equals itself. And again, shared side is reflexive. Now, do we have enough, oh, yeah, go ahead. Do we have enough information to prove this? Yeah, now we have enough because we have two angles and a side. So now I'm gonna say like what we're trying to prove, that ABC equals DBC. And what's the reason? Angle, side, angle. It's the two angles on either side of that shared side. So it's usually like this second and third step that's usually pretty tough, is trying to figure out what we know. And so it's a matter of just kind of noticing those things that we've known these past few chapters. So knowing what an angle bisector is, knowing, vertical angles, like kind of being aware of those. All right, and then we'll go to this last one. Like I said, then I'll give you guys the rest of the time to work on the proofs. Sorry, they should have had, we'll talk about this one here. This one's maybe a little bit too easy. Oh well. All right, I think I'm going to tell you guys to ignore these little tick marks. I don't have it listed in the proof, so if you can kind of pretend that those don't exist. Sorry. You can pretend that those aren't there. Make that line super thick. Go on. All right, sorry. Otherwise, it's maybe a little too easy on this one. So they tell us L is the midpoint of Jn and Km. L is the midpoint of Jn and Km. So I know this is the midpoint. What does that tell me about our line? It's really similar to angle bisector. What happens to that line? I think Evelyn wants to do. Yeah, you don't. What did you say? Cuts it, but yeah. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, it cuts it into like those equal pieces here. So these are kind of, so like Jn, this is the middle, so that means this and this are the same. And then L is the middle of Km, Km, so this and this are the same. Now they're not all equal to each other, because hopefully you notice Km is actually longer than Jn, so they shouldn't all be equal. but they're cut into 2 equal pieces, each of those. So now again, we can't just mark it on the drawing, we have to say it. So I have to say that JL equals LN, and also ML equals LK. So those 2 pieces equal each other. It's really important to write out there. How are we able to say this? What's our reason? Why were we able to say that? A lot of times the reason's really obvious, you guys. What just told us that? Yeah. I heard it. Midpoint, that's all it is. Again, don't care if it's a definition, postulate, theorem, whatever. You can just write midpoint. I know what you're talking about. I know that you're showing a rule. Now again, because we have to ignore what they told, like what that those lines they had marked. What else do I know? Yep. Vertical angles, yeah. If you're ever not sure, look for some of those kind of gimme things, like a shared side or vertical angles. There are vertical angles here. Now there's vertical angles and like there's 2 sets of them. I want these 2 because those 2 are helpful for the triangles I'm trying to prove. I'm trying to prove these 2 triangles are equal. So, at vertical angles, again, naming the angles is probably the hardest part. So JLM, and then KLN. Now, do I have enough? Yep. We have enough information now to prove these triangles are congruent. And I just copy their given state, or like the proof statement. I don't even really try to match everything up. And the reason for it is what? Side angle side, very good. And again, that's what we want to be good at, noticing the reason, because I don't want you guys to do this long proof and then, not really long, but then get the reason wrong or not know what you're looking for, okay? That seems doable? So again, for your homework, you have 4 proofs to do. These aren't super fast problems, and I know you can get stuck on them, so that's why I only gave 4. I'd like you guys to get going on it and then ask for help if needed, if you get stuck on something, or talk to someone next to you. But don't just depend on somebody else. If I sit next to Dawson and he just knows what he's doing every time, I'm not learning anything. So kind of trying to figure out ways to get them on your own. It's a little bit of a puzzle you have to let yourself try.